Okay. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Casey with the STL Men's Group podcast, and I have a very special guest with us tonight, Connor Vanbuskirk of Upshot Coffee. Welcome.
Guilty.
Thank
you for having me, Casey. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. We're glad that you came down to share some of your wisdom. And tonight you were talking about how mindset is everything. So I'm going to go straight for it. Like practically in day-to-day life, what is that? Like, talk that out for me. How is mindset on a day-to-day, actually living it out for you?
I think it's just the way that we interpret information, right? I think one of the things that I have realized over this journey of figuring out how mindset affects everything is one of the initial things that I realized was I was very pessimistic, right? Like I was always quick to make fun of people, judge people. I still have a little bit of that in me. I'm still trying to kill it.
Yeah.
But I realized I had this realization that I was a very pessimistic person, kind of like always made fun of things, used a lot of irony, was pretty passive aggressive and just tried to use humor to cover it all up. And one of the things that I realized in this process was I actually hate pessimists. And so I had to become an optimist where it's I see the good in things, and that allows me to translate information in a different way than everything that happens to you. You immediately look for the bad in it and why it's happening and why it's bad and why it's going to ruin your day and why it's going to be bad for everyone.
Yeah.
So the first thing I had to do was just go, people really don't like hanging out with pessimists. Mm-hmm. They really like being around people that are positive, and positive people attract other positive people.
Yeah.
And when you're in a room full of positive people that want to go get something done, it's way more interesting and fun and engaging.
Way cooler.
Especially the older you get, than being around a room full of people that are pessimists and are making fun of everything and are going nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. The pessimists I look at as kind of like a black hole of they're just sucking the energy from the rest of the room. I forgot who said it, but somebody was your brain thinks of all the things that could possibly go wrong in any given scenario. And most of them are outrageous and will never happen. But if your brain can think of those things, is it possible that we could also think of the best things that could possibly happen to us?
Yep.
And imagine those instead. So I super resonate with that. That was one thing for me. It was I was always expecting the worst to happen. And then when it happened, I was oh, okay.
It's confirmation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically you're this terrible thing's going to happen. Then you almost made sure it happened so that you could then go, that happened. I told you I was right.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, we knew this was going to happen. So it's confirmation bias.
Yeah.
But then I think that also goes to, if you think in a positive light and things go right, you're we knew this would happen. Yeah. And it's that confirmation bias to the positive. So,
and even if they go wrong, you go, well, let's relook at that. You don't have to become a pessimist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. What were a couple mindset shifts, maybe major mindset shifts? I know we talked about kind of you losing a bunch of weight, that obviously came with a mindset shift. So what are the couple major mind shifts in your life that you had to make to kind of get you where you are?
I think the beginning of it was probably, in 2016, 2017, I'd been putting on weight as a dad and a business owner. I was skinny when me and Stacey got married. I was skinny my entire life.
Yeah.
And then, I probably put on 20 pounds over the first 10 years of marriage, which was no big deal. I could hide it. And then, over the next 5 years or so, I put on more. And I'd gone from 180 of graduating high school to, I think it was around 260. So I'd put on 80 pounds since high school, and I could definitely feel it and see it. And I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't working out.
Yeah.
I was just working all the time, spending a lot of time with my kids, being a great dad and a business owner, doing what I thought I should do, but also being extremely lazy in what I was eating and how I was taking care of my body, which, also affects your mental health. If you're not taking care of what you're putting in your body and you're not taking care of yourself physically, your mind's not going to operate as well. Yeah. So I think part of what it was there was a moment in 2015, 2016, I've got two boys that are now 18 and 20.
Okay.
But I remember looking at them, and they were, I don't know, probably 8 and 10 at that time. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, if they follow me, would I be proud of them? Mm-hmm. If they were 100 pounds overweight and didn't take care of themselves, didn't watch what they ate, just kind of went through the motions and went with the flow of life.
Yeah.
Right. Versus here's what I believe in. Here's what I do every day. I'm extremely disciplined. You know, I'm motivated. I'm all these things, right? Like I just started looking at them and go, if they follow me, here's what I think I'm showing them. And I don't think that I would be proud of that. So like the initial realization of shifting the mindset was like, okay, they're getting to an age where what I do, they're watching me and they're going to emulate it potentially.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if I'm doing good things.
Yeah.
And so like the first shift for me was just wanting to be who I wanted to be so that if my kids copied me, like I had accountability and like leading them in the right direction. So immediately I was like, well, I don't really want them to be like, you know, unmotivated and not taking care of themselves. And on, you know, at the time I was taking an antidepressant and anti-anxiety. So I started taking some medication instead of dealing with things naturally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd been on them for like, you know, 8 years and nothing was getting better, but I was getting fatter, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like,
something's wrong here.
okay, so do I want my kids fat, medicated, and like not able to control or understand or have any like agency over their life? Or do I want to show them someone that goes, hey, let me figure this out? And I'm not saying everyone can get off medication. I felt like what I was taking was not helping me and I didn't really need it. I felt like I was just on it because I was put on it and it hadn't made me worse.
Sure.
Right? So I was like, if I can get physically active, will that help me out mentally, right? To where I can get off antidepressants. I can start to deal with my anxiety naturally and just really lean into my life and take accountability for things versus like letting them happen to me.
Yeah.
And so just got very serious about running, riding a bike, started training for a triathlon, started watching what I ate. At one point, I mean, for years we went vegan because I just needed to lose weight. And that was the best way for me to lose weight. I lost a lot of weight being vegan.
Yeah.
And then I stopped being vegan because I was taking way too many supplements to feel like I was a human. And I was like, oh, I've done kind of what I did before. So then we worked in grass-fed meat and grass-fed dairy and all these other things. And it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
But the initial mindset shift was realizing like I wanted to be a really good influence on my kids. And I was going to have to work really hard to get to where I wanted.
Yeah. That's got to be huge, especially being able to look at your kids and I think what you said, like would I be proud of what they were seeing? You know, would I, if they followed me, would I be proud? And that's a huge shift.
Like if I walk in and they're 25 and they're just sitting on their lazy boy eating a pizza, 50 pounds overweight, watching football, like not in their house is dirty or whatever. Like would I be like, yeah, this is exactly what I want? Or would I be like way more proud if I've walked in and, you know, like he's already done a 20-mile bike ride and gone out and thrown the football with his kids and like taken care of his wife and done all these other things. And then we sit down and we have a meal. Like, which one would I be more proud of?
Yeah.
And therefore, which one should I be showing them as an example?
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned in the big group tonight, there was this point where you just wanted to sell everything. Like you just wanted to cash it all in and you wanted to drive a UPS truck. I think that's what you said.
I had dreams in the middle of Corona when things were going really bad with the business of just not having any responsibility. And like, you know, I would fantasize about just getting to drive a UPS truck, you know, deliver some packages and then, you know, go home and just get a paycheck every Friday and like, you know, just have one boss that like, as long as I delivered my packages, everything was fine. Yeah. Because life had gotten way more complicated than that.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot more complicated than driving. I think as men, I think I heard Pastor Joey Martin say this and a few other people, like we do best when we're behind a plow, like when we're doing work. What is it that you think makes men just want to give up? Like, you know, was there a point, I guess for you personally, but like what as men, why do you think that we just want to give it up? And we're like, nope, we just want to pack this in. We want to drive a truck. And not to disparage truck drivers. You're super needed. Like, but going from the extremely difficult life.
No, if I sold Upshot right now and I could make $160,000 driving an UPS truck, I would not. Yeah. I don't think that's a bad job at all.
Yeah. Yeah. 160.
I've never done it, so someone could tell me different. I mean, being in a truck, listening to a podcast, delivering packages all day by myself seemed like great after having like 50 people a day coming at me needing things.
Yeah. And you talked about how Stacy, your wife, was such a big part of saying, no, I'm not going to let you quit. So in that moment when you wanted to quit, your wife came to you, you were humbled, I think is a word that you used, maybe even humiliated, but like, what was the shift that you think you had to make at that time to where it was like, all right, did you find another gear? Like what was that shift that you made?
It was being lost enough that in the process of laying down on my office floor and having panic attacks and just sitting there quietly, hoping they would pass, there was a prayer put on me, and it was just God told me, because I honestly, I felt like, am I here for me, or am I here because it's the right thing for me to do? I didn't know if I was doing it for my ego or if I was doing it because it was the right thing for my family.
Yeah.
And I was okay with sacrificing if it was the right thing for my family. If it was for my ego, I wanted out. Right. So there was a period where I was trying to figure that out. And, part of that was like, while I was laying on my office floor, just trying to keep my mind still, this prayer came into me, and it was, God, if you want me here, like, my wife won't let me quit this. I can't sell it because she won't let me. She says we need to do this for the family. She says, you're going to, this is what we're meant to do. Figure it out. And I was like, so I can't quit, and what are we doing? Yeah. And he just kept putting on this prayer on my heart of like, God, if I'm to do this, if this is for you, for your purposes, like, bring me the people that I need. Right. And I didn't know when that would happen, if that would happen, but I was like, if the people that I need to stay here stay, because I had a couple of people that I really needed to keep, and had they left, that could have been the final nail in the coffin, as well as not getting new people in. Yeah. And he kept those people still at first, like, they just didn't leave, and I kept waiting every day. I kept waiting that they're going to leave at some point. They didn't leave, and then he started bringing me people, right? And then that prayer that created more fear in me, because I was like, well, God's brought me people before, but then I didn't keep them, or I didn't know how to lead them, or I didn't know how to build a business that could pay them well enough to keep them. So it just felt like this hobby that was circulating over and over. Like, you'd start, you'd build it up, then it would turn over, and you'd just kind of like go through this process of up and down, turn over, not really getting anywhere. And so that became the next prayer. Like 6 months, over the next 6 months or a year, as God just started bringing people into my life, then I was like, God, please tell me what I need to do to be able to retain them and lead them. Please make me the kind of person that if you bring them to me, I don't lose them for you and undo what you did. And so that was my prayer every day. And through that, went through counseling, did a lot of praying. I mean, there's a lot of things that were going on to make that transition happen. But the majority of it was, I'd always kind of like been a 1 foot in, 1 foot out guy with God. Like, sometimes I believe in him, sometimes I wouldn't. Yeah. And I feel like part of what this was God knocking me down until like I just was ready to go 2 feet in.
Surrender. Right?
Just surrender and ask for his help, instead of being like, I got this. There's an answer. Like, I got to a point where I just said, my wife would ask me a question that was very necessary for our family, and I'd go, I don't know. Right? And so I was like, oh, I better ask someone. Yeah. And it turns out that's who I asked.
Yeah. Yeah. That one of the questions I wrote down too is, how important is being around the right people when it comes to mindset? And I mean, you just
everything.
Yeah.
If you have negative people in your life, if you have people that, and I'm not saying you just cut out everyone that doesn't agree with you, because that would cut out people that you need, antagonists in your life that are real with you, or maybe have some doubt in some areas that are healthy. It's not saying to curate this world that only gives you beautiful feedback. Yeah. Right. But curate a world that you enjoy showing up with people that have the same mindset as you, to where you're all running the same direction and you can achieve the same goals. It's not you being excited to hit the floor running every day and build something great with 5 people that don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about this last time. I think it was Joe Rohn who said you're the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. But that doesn't mean that, you just cast everybody else out. It's just, I was talking to a younger guy a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about one of his boys where he's really great to go grab a beer with or to go watch games with, but it never gets deeper than that. And he was like, am I just wasting my time? And I'm like, no, like, you need dudes like that, because sometimes you're so in the thick of it where you're just like, I just need to go grab a beer. Like, I just need to go, like, even though I'm not super into sports, like, this will get me shot. I couldn't care less about like football or basketball. I'll watch it if it's on TV, but like, sometimes I just need to go to the bar and watch football or basketball with a buddy and have that time. So that, surrounding yourself with people who want to call you forward in your inner circle, but then you also need the people that you can just, kick it with from time to time.
Well, and too, sometimes those casual acquaintances over years, like, things transition and they become very good friends. So you never know, like, when that's going to transition from a surface relationship to like someone that is more than just someone you grab a beer with.
Yeah. Yeah. Who are some of the influential people in your life that help kind of shape your mindset over the years?
I would say my wife's parents, I've learned a lot from. Yeah. Neither one of them are business owners, but they're just incredibly positive people that have done a lot with what they have and have kept their family very close, have impacted the people around them in an exceptional way. And pretty much just watching them over the 22 years that I've been married to my wife, it re-educated me on what family could be. It was a bit different than the way that I grew up.
Yeah.
So I would say probably the most impactful people would be, there's two sets. And the other one would be my wife's family, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, for like the way that they love the people around them, the way they take care of the people around them, the way they're optimistic, the way they turn everything into something good.
Yeah.
Right. Like that has been a huge thing for mindset. And then, another great influence on me has been my stepdad. He's been in my life for, 25 years. And he brings stuff on the business side that my in-laws don't have. So I kind of feel like I even got blessed with that. Whereas like my stepdad is great in some areas, and then my in-laws are great in other areas, and I can kind of crowdsource them for their own separate things and learn from them separately.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. That's awesome that you've got like the dual, like, from a strictly purpose, family driven like portion of like, hey, here's a prime example of what that is. And then a business. And I know that you marry them really well at Upshot, and obviously, kind of how we met, creating that atmosphere. For those of you who don't know, I got engaged at Upshot at an open mic night, and my wife and I's first date too was at Upshot. So you have an incredible culture around you. So I'm super grateful that you took the time to hang out with us, to share your wisdom. And man, if there's one piece that you could leave men with today in a mindset shift, what do you think it could be that they could make their lives better tomorrow?
I would say approach things with an optimistic mindset.
Yep.
When something happens to you, don't immediately react to it. Take your time to think through it and go, if it feels like a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Or it feels like a negative thing, take time to look at it and go, instead of like, why is this happening and why is this going to ruin my life? Or ask, what am I to be learning in this situation? Like, if this is going to happen, if this is something I'm going to deal with, what am I being taught and what can I get out of this?
Yeah.
Right. And then what can I learn from this to make sure that if I don't enjoy this experience, we don't do it again.
Yeah. Going from why is this happening to me to why is this happening for me?
Exactly. It's that mindset shift of, instead of being a victim and I just can't control the world of what it's doing to me all day long, which is where I think a lot of us can get stuck. And, where I was stuck for a period of time, it's, taking in what the world's giving to us and going, what should I be learning from this? And like, how can I turn this into something that I learn from versus something that makes me go hide in my bedroom for 8 hours and cry.
Yeah. Connor, thank you so much, man. Looking forward to seeing everything that Upshot does in the future. But thanks again for coming by tonight.
Thanks for having me, Casey. And
absolutely.
One thing I would like you to know is you guys getting engaged in our shop meant a lot to us. We love being a part of those moments. And the fact that you trusted us with that experience meant a lot to me. Yeah. And we just kind of knew each other at that point. We've become more and more friends since then. Yeah. But I was just like, this is really cool. He trusts with us, and we loved being a part of that moment. So I wanted to thank you for doing that with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm super grateful to have that memory and seeing you guys in the back while I was up there singing and then proposing. So it was a lot of fun. But thanks again, man.
Thank you, sir.
Until next time.
All right, buddy.